Hey guys, I'm Cabinroo. I wanted to put out a video for the new killer that just came out, which is the Dredge. The Dredge is a very fun, cool killer with a lot of interesting components to it, and I have two games for you in this video. We're going to see that my very first game is the Dredge, and we're going to see the game where I get adept on Dredge, and we'll just spend some time talking about Dredge, talking about its power, the perks that come with it. It's a very cool killer that I feel like has a lot of layers. They all work together pretty well in my opinion. And I think that this is a wonderful killer for anybody who likes macro killers. If you like twins, if you like Onryo, if you like Freddy, any of those types of killers that are really moving around constantly, Dredge is definitely a killer for you. The power is a lot. It has a lot to understand. It is both, in my opinion, really easy to use, but there's, I think, a good bit of nuance to it as well. So, Reign of Darkness comes with two components. There is the Gloaming, which is the Dredge's movement and mobility mechanics, and then there's Nightfall, which is this cool kind of empowered state that the Dredge periodically gets for 60 seconds. So during the Gloaming, the Dredge is able to set up a Remnant, which they can teleport back to. Once they set that Remnant up, survivors can try to run through it, and if they successfully do, they prevent the Dredge from being able to teleport back to the Remnant. Instead of teleporting back to the Remnant, the Dredge can also teleport to lockers around the map up to 3 times. Every time the Dredge uses this ability to teleport to lockers, they power up Nightfall and cause it to come faster. So moving from locker to locker is a great way to help get your empowered state quicker, and it's really important to the Dredge's overall power and map presence. The Remnant is very visible to survivors and they know it's there, but it's a very, very good anti-looping tool, and it's just a really nice addition to the Dredge's kit. It's important to note that while you are charging the Gloaming, you cannot attack. You can only choose to drop the ability and stay where you are, return to your Remnant, or teleport to a locker. Once you've teleported to a locker, you cannot return to the Remnant. You have to exit from a locker, but you can continue hopping from one locker to the next. The last thing that we really want to talk about is the survivor mechanic that goes with the movement of the Dredge. When you're going up against the Dredge, every locker will have a lock on it. Any survivor can go activate the lock to lock that locker and prevent anybody from going into it and make it harder for the Dredge to come out. Once a lock is applied, it cannot be unapplied, and the Dredge can interact with the lock one of two ways. If the Dredge teleports to a locker that is locked and tries to come out, it'll take the Dredge longer to get out of the locker, but it will break the lock when it comes out. The Dredge can also use a basic M1 attack and break the locker on any locked locker. That was a lot of locks. So it's really helpful as survivors to be very meticulous about when and how you lock lockers. One piece of advice that I have from what I've been watching is that if you have a pair of lockers, it doesn't appear that the Dredge gets to choose which of the pair they go to. So what I would do if you're playing against Dredge, lock one of the lockers. If the Dredge busts out of it and chases you, take the chase, get away, and then if you come back to that location, lock the second locker. From everything that I'm seeing, it looks like the Dredge will always go to the locked locker, and by hitting both of them, you give the Dredge the opportunity to break the second lock early. By waiting until you come back and then locking the second one, I think that you're actually increasing your utilization of the locks. So just kind of be aware of that. As far as Nightfall goes, Nightfall has a meter for every survivor that you'll see around each survivor's portrait. The circle around the edge will fill up, and when it becomes full, Nightfall begins for all of the survivors. The circle around every survivor's portrait is the same. One survivor won't have Nightfall offset from another survivor. During Nightfall, the map becomes incredibly dark for survivors. The Dredge loses its terror radius, and for the Dredge, survivors are highlighted in a very clear white aura. Survivors will be able to see the Dredge in a white aura as well, but not from as far away, and they will also be able to see other survivors in a white aura. The loss of vision is pretty significant on live right now, and it's really, really neat. The other thing to note is that while Nightfall is active, the Dredge's special ability, the Gloaming, has a shorter cooldown, and the distance it can travel from one locker to the next takes significantly less time. Let's hop into some gameplay footage where we can see these abilities in action. We're going to start with a very brief clip of a chase I had as Nia. This just shows you the Remnant, and it shows my survivor running through the Remnant and destroying it. So as I'm moving through this location, The dredge is chasing me. I see the dredge. I see that the dredge pops its remnant up right there, and I'm able to run through it, destroying it. The next two clips are going to be chases that I'm doing with the dredge. In both of these chases, I drop remnants and use it to help close out the loop. Small loops like the two you're going to see here are very dangerous against the dredge with the remnant, because the dredge can kind of squeeze you between the remnant and the actual monster, and the dredge then gets to pick whether they teleport and attack or whether they stay where they are, cancel the ability, and attack. The dredge can attack pretty quickly after teleporting or canceling their ability, so there's very little room for safety, and you kind of want to keep moving from loop to loop against the dredge if you can. It's also worth noting that when you leave the remnant as the dredge, when you teleport back, you will teleport facing the direction that you dropped the remnant. So in these chases, or in any chases as the dredge, be very conscious of the direction you're facing when you drop that remnant. Try and set yourself up for success on where you think the survivor will approach from in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, however many seconds. So let's watch this first one. So they drop the pallet, I set up my remnant, and the remnant's not facing in quite the right direction, but I'm able to teleport back, reorient, and get an easy hit. This is another small loop with Michaela. Michaela, I think, correctly identifies that dropping the pallet's important. I have the remnant set up, and this time Michaela kind of stutters. I teleport, get the hit. Now we're going to look at the dredge doing the teleport and the perspective of the dredge as you're teleporting. So in this first one, as I'm teleporting, the ore of the locker is red. That means that the locker does not have an active lock on it, and I'm able to get out of it very quickly. In this case, I pinball to a second locker and bust out almost immediately. From the survivor perspective, there's very little time to respond when the remnant or when the dredge gets to a locker. You see, I have to run immediately. I was prepared and kind of ready for it, but if I weren't, if I were just losing attention for any one moment, the dredge would easily get me. Now, this is me reapproaching, and I choose to lock just one of the locks. And this is that pair of lockers that we talked about. So this time, it's going to take the dredge longer, and I have more time to respond, get to the window, get out. I've already given up that pallet on the ground, but because of the lock, I'm able to make some good distance, and the dredge doesn't even bother with the chase. Later on in the game, we come back. I use the second lock, and I get back on this generator. This again affords me the time to get away, and you notice that the dredge goes to the locked locker instead of the unlocked one that they had gone to twice already in this match. So take your time, don't feel like you always have to lock the lockers. For this next clip, watch first of all the meters around the survivors' portraits. Note that when I hook a survivor, there's a good chunk of the circle that becomes filled. Every time you hook or injure a survivor, you fill the Nightfall meter. And then notice the change in the vision that I have as the dredge when I'm going into Nightfall. So as soon as Nightfall hits, everything kind of becomes grayscale and we start to see the survivors in a white aura. I'm able to get a pretty good easy hit with the drop down the survivor has, and watch how obvious the next two survivors are to me. Now this isn't as big of a deal on this map, but there are going to be certain maps where that extra aura reading is huge. This is going to be massive on things like the Saloon map. This is going to be huge on the Swamp map, where survivors have been used to being able to hide in grass. As the dredge during Nightfall, that sort of stealthing technique is not going to be effective because you're so obviously apparent to the dredge. Now, I don't necessarily need to be doing a lot of teleporting, but it's worth noting that while you're in this phase, I can use my power very quickly. I can hop around very quickly. This is a really, really strong place to be playing as the dredge. This is such a fun, cool mechanic, and as interesting as it is from the dredge's perspective, it's so terrifying for survivors. I don't think I appreciated when I was first talking about it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was very good. This is huge going up against survivors. So this first clip is me just working on a generator. And I would actually say that the generator I'm working on, now that I've seen this is not the right choice for me to be doing. Uh, the dredge has no terror radius. They could be coming from any angle on me right now. And all that you get to help you out is the white aura, and you don't get that as far away as you would think. So I actually barely see the dredge, and notice how little of them I see as I'm looking around. He's going to be popping up as I turn my camera, and I just get like that's it. That's all that I saw of him. And so it's important during Nightfall that you're being smart, you're being cautious. You don't need to like be overly careful, you don't want to hide in a corner, but like a generator like this is probably not when you want to work on a Nightfall where the dredge can approach from any angle. My camera is just on a swivel trying to see him before he gets to me. He has such a good chance of finding me before I even notice that he's there. We also get to see during this Nightfall running into Dwight, and we get to see kind of the cool white aura that you see on other survivors. So this is, I mean, Nightfall's a big deal. The darkness is huge, and it's really tough when you're running around. We see in this next clip, as I start running, and as I'm playing as Nia on that previous game, we see just how difficult it is to see things. Now, I've played this map a couple times, so I have some ideas of where pallets are, but it's so hard to identify them. And I know that I'm running towards Killer Shack, and I know that there can be pallets around here. I just can't find them. And there's so much noise and there's so much audio going on that it's very, very challenging to really get the full use out of what you're used to having as a survivor. A lot of the visuals that I'm used to relying on, kind of picking my point, running to it, and watching the dredge, I can't do it effectively in Nightfall. We're going to hop into now your guys' chance to see my first impressions of the dredge. I'll be talking about the powers, I'll be talking about the perks. You can see that some of my opinions have changed pretty significantly. And the more that I've played the dredge, I think that they'll continue to kind of evolve and adapt. The commentary is interesting. I think most of it's still fairly accurate, but there are a couple of things. My opinion of Darkness is totally different now that I've played both as Survivor and as the dredge. It's very, very different experiencing both sides of it. The first game is super fun. It's a little difficult for me to get the key binding correctly. I kept inverting in my mind what was the returning to the remnant and what was teleporting to a locker, and that really cost me. And then the adept game is just really, really fun. It's very enjoyable. It's tense, it's close, but I have a great time with it. If you're enjoying the content, please do consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a ton. And if you want to see me live, you can come watch me on Twitch. The link to my channel is in the description below. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. The power I've seen a little bit. The power is weird. The power is very weird. The special ability, the Gloaming. So press and hold the power button to activate. Once activated, the dredge leaves a remnant behind. Aim at a locker and press the ability button to teleport into it, or press the attack button to return to the remnant. The remnant is disabled when teleporting to a locker or when a survivor touches it. While in a locker, aim at any other locker to press the ability button to teleport again. Each teleport consumes a power token. Exiting the locker, returning to your remnant will activate the Gloaming's cooldown, after which all power tokens are recharged. Smuggling a horse too? Yeah, I like that it just like plops out every now and then. What's going on, Blue? How you doing? Hey, Blue, did Gen X ever guess the kind of the little piece of your name? I've thought about how I can expand the clue if they hop back in here. Does it? Okay, I'm curious. Nightfall is what's interesting. No? Okay. Nightfall is very interesting. So the Nightfall meter builds when a healthy survivor is injured, a survivor is hooked, or the teleport power is used. The Nightfall meter also fills faster for each survivor in the injured state. Once the Nightfall meter is full, Nightfall begins. During Nightfall, survivors must navigate in total darkness. The Dredge's teleport is faster with a shorter cooldown, and there is no terror radius. Nightfall ends after 60 seconds. Survivors destroying the remnant also reduces the time of an active Nightfall. Okay, so survivors get a little bit of counterplay by being able to destroy remnants, but overall the Dredge is stronger. It doesn't tell you, but there's like a weird highlighting thing that goes on. Is it super dark? Okay, cool. I'll be very interested to see it in game. So this ability is cool. The teleporting to lockers is very interesting. I'll be very curious to see how it feels when I play it myself. I like this. I think Nightfall could be changed a little bit more. I don't like the fact that, from what I can tell, survivors see the dredge highlighted in a very bright white. I think that's kind of a bummer and kind of anti-synergistic with the whole point of Nightfall. But from a horror perspective, I think it's really cool. I think it adds to that element of fear. I think it adds to kind of that sense of dread and suspense. So I really, really like that. His perks are really interesting, and I've seen other people talk about them a little bit. Dissolution, I think that I have a different opinion on than a lot of other people. I think a lot of people think that Dissolution is really good, and I think Dissolution is okay and is going to be highly situational. So basically, when you hit a survivor, 3 seconds after you injure them, Dissolution is going to activate for 12 seconds. While it's active, if a survivor vaults over a pallet in my terror radius, so they have to be close to me, the entity breaks the pallet at the end of the vault. So kind of similar to Legion. What's going on, May? We are talking about some of the perks before we hop into a game. Survivors get an indicator, as far as I can tell, that tells them that they have Dissolution active, so survivors know they have it. And I think that there are so many requirements to set Dissolution up that I think it's going to be very difficult to get value out of it. Exactly, Blue. And that's kind of where I am. I wish that the gameplay kind of matched the horror a little bit better. I think this is going to be an okay one. I think it's a fun perk. I think it's an interesting perk. I think it's okay. I think it's like a 5 out of 10 because it's so situational. You're hitting a survivor, which means that they're getting distance on you. They're getting time to kind of go to their next loop. And a lot of the time where this is active, I feel like is going to be you catching up to them and you kind of closing that distance after you've hit them. So I think there's going to be some issues with it. Yeah, I don't think this is very good at all. I think this is fun. I think you take it because it's fun. I don't think you take it because you're trying to do anything competitive. Darkness Revealed is another interesting one. I think that Darkness Revealed could be really, really cool if the range was upped just a little bit. I think 8 meters is a little too small for investing in a locker check. Or I think that if they lowered or removed the cooldown, it would be much better. I think as it stands, this is also kind of a 5 out of 10 perk for me. I just don't love it. I love the idea of it, and I love what they're doing with it. I think this is a super cool perk. I just don't think it's I don't think it's going to replace a lot of perks that are out there. I don't think it's going to shake things up a whole lot. This could be really good. Sack and I were talking a little bit. This could be really good on range killers like Huntress and Trickster who have to reload, because you're essentially just getting potential free value out of the reload. So that element is very cool. This is the one that I'm most interested in. I think this is the strongest perk that the Dredge is bringing to the table. Whenever a survivor performs the healing action within your terror radius, that survivor suffers from the blindness and exhausted effect. These effects linger for 6 seconds after a healing action is interrupted by any means. So what I don't know, and this will be the big impact on it, I don't know if that means that even if the healing action is completed, like if the healing action stops, I'm not sure if that's kind of where it counts. Where did you come from? I didn't even know you were in here. Biddle is in the room, apparently. But having a way to apply exhaustion to survivors, I think is going to be really, really good. I can show you, Alpha. This is the wheel right now. But I find that Fearmonger is really good applying blindness and exhaustion for being on generators. I think Septic Touch, paired with things like Fearmonger, and then maybe even like the Blood Echoes from Oni, and just applying a bunch of exhaustion to survivors and making it hard for them to get their exhaustion perks off. I think there could be a very cool build. I think that if you take Septic with Nurse's Calling and see survivors, I think you have a lot of potential to do some really fun stuff. I'm going to, before somebody spins the wheel, I'm going to start the first match on Dredge. We're going to ready up. And does anybody have a strong opinion on we're playing level 1 Dredge, like true level 1 Dredge? Does anybody have a strong opinion about which perk they want to see me play with? Do you want to use my points? Save them for right now, Alpha. I'm going to do a couple of Dredge matches, and then if you're really feeling like spicing things up, absolutely do it. I think that if you're just starting out, I think that Septic is going to give you probably the most value, but I do agree that Dissolution is like the flashy one. This is the one that's like neat. I think this is the one that's going to be good. But we'll go ahead. We'll start with Dissolution. I admit I'm more interested in Dissolution as well. This is one that I see myself playing a lot. And what I like, and part of the reason why I like playing a killer at level 1 and going from 1 to 15, is it really forces me to at least try these perks and give them some time. I am going to go bring that music down. So we're going to try. And here's the mistake I'm going to make. This is one of the things that I notice a lot. The locker perk looks cool. Doesn't look the best, but it looks cool. Terrifying to play against myself. Yeah. And I might do some Survivor tonight too, just in the hopes of finding some Dredge matches. I think that'd be really fun as well. Biddle's behind me, you know, cleaning herself up. She was very excited when I started assembling the chair, and then it grew progressively less excited as she realized that there was nothing she could steal and nothing she could eat. Um, I am curious with night with the total darkness. I'm curious how that affects the brightness from hex totems and if it makes them more obvious or not. Lighting can be really, really weird in this game. So, I remember that one button is one thing or not. Ooh, all right. First game. Let's go hit some people. So the bars around the killer's portraits, I believe, is like the darkness or the gloaming or whatever. We're gonna leave her. So having somebody injured, again, gives us faster darkness. And I think that you want to kind of work on darkness. So if I can get multiple people, kind of similar to like a Legion play. Cool. Now I do appreciate that the cooldown's pretty short on Dissolution. Oh, that was the wrong button. That's on me. Oh, that speed is rough. Steve's hook state 2. Spaces to exit. Okay. I do really like having that control. Stutter step it. Okay. So this is the darkness part that's really strange. Okay, let's check our gens. Nope, wrong button. Let's not check our gens. Okay, control. The noises are actually a little disorienting because I'm hearing cries of pain, and it does kind of mask the survivors a little bit. Oh man, I really need to I need that rebound almost. Oh, hello entire survivor team? I like Lori taking the chase. And then I believe Nia's working. Yep. Control. This speed is painful. The heartbeats are actually very nice. We could obviously kill Steve, but I wanted them to be able to play too. Oh, nope, not what I wanted. Back to our normal chase. I'm just totally getting the buttons backwards. In my mind, they function completely differently. No! Stop! I don't want to do that! Well. Oh, he's... Risky if there's anybody with a save. Could be a flashlight save. Nope, scratch marks were not for them. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, we gave Steve a couple extra chances. Kick this. At this point, I think they may have just locked, like, every door. Dead hard? She finishes that. Seems like there's I'm wondering what the reason is. Yep, no disillusion. I'm wondering what the reason is to not just, like, lock all of the lockers in the beginning of the match. Like, yes, you prevent your ability to get into them. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? Hop into bed. Oh, you gotta work tomorrow. Yes, yes, yes. Well, Lisa, I hope you have a great night. Okay. Lori, the hatch is there. Here, I will show you if you don't have decisive. Which you do. She could have gone the hatch. Inner healing. I mean, it is against one killer. Oh, yeah, okay, it is against another killer. I guess it's also, or I don't want to go quite as late tonight. I wanted to play this, and I wanted to make sure you guys could see it being played. So, oh my goodness, that back doll is so creepy. Okay. Bad timing. That's what we call bad timing. Oh, man. Oh, wrong button. Slide. Good, good, good. I think getting the basement hook here has a lot of value. We do, I think, lose some time, but just... Basement hook again. We're not doing great, but we're not doing horrible. Rooney, how you doing? Good to see you. Also, hello, Abiko. What's with the what's with the chicken hate? Very smart from the Claudette. This is what she has to do. So the bad part about this generator is because of its location, it blocks so much teleporting for me. No. I can't teleport straight down. That's a bit of a bummer. Jeez. Dude, this guy's gonna be really good in TL loops. I'll take it at this point. So we removed her pallets, so our safe space here doesn't exist anymore. We've really opened this up. we should make this. Okay, cool. Oh, man. Got my schedule. Which goes for... Okay, good luck, Blues. Like, seriously. I know, I'm really pulling for you on this. I hope it goes well. Nice. I come back. The skin was bought. I love the skin. We're an adept dredge, guys. We did it. We pulled it off. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to hit it before we got to 15. All right. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Cabinaroo. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. You can find me on Twitch or the next video.